Give me 42 minutes and you'll never abandon yourself again. God speaks in energy, but every time you force yourself to do what doesn't feel right, you abandon the message God is looking to send to you, which means you abandon yourself. Let's fix that. Because if you watch this live tonight, you'll never abandon yourself again. Folks, I know you know what it feels like when you're faced with a task that you feel like you should go do. It's a should, but something in you is telling you otherwise. It's saying don't, it's saying no, it's saying not right now, it's saying I don't want to. But too often we get into that habit observing shoulds as if shoulds are religions, held hostage by obligation. And we stop listening to the very movement of our own being. See, folks, on tonight, we are each being called back into the divine being, to be put back in tune with that celestial movement that in common parlance we just call energy. We can feel it is circulating through us. Why then do we not listen to it when it is instructing us? Why do we believe logic is superior to intuition? Why do we believe that sight is superior to feeling? That objective measures aren't measured subjectively? Why do we believe? Tonight we're being called to something higher. We're being called to return, to come home, to a greater intelligence that moves through us. And our to-do list, our should list, reflects our most basic fears rather than this innate intelligence that's actually circulating through us even now. Folks, we need to get to the show. And so tonight, if you're ready to live free beyond fear, welcome here. I'm Dr. Shawn, and I believe you do not need years to heal. You just need one real breakthrough. That's why I invented Transcendent Psychology, and I test it in the real world, on real people, on my game show, Countdown to Breakthrough, the only game show that heals your soul. Right now, you're on the Breakthrough Live, where we break down the science of healing so that you get your own breakthrough. Live. On tonight's show, we're talking about moving beyond, or rather, you could say returning home to the true self, giving up the mission of running out into the world of shoulds, constantly abandoning yourself and abandoning the innate wisdom that is constantly speaking through you and to you. I like working from principle. What I find is that if I can understand the principle behind a thing, then I can reason and find my own solutions based on that principle. You know, a principle can work a bit like a master key. It can fit into places that and unlock doors, many doors, that just a straight one technique or one methodology or one line, one idea may not be able to penetrate. One principle can unlock many doors. And so I like working from principle. And so today's principle is that there is no there. There is no there. The other way of saying that is that all energy, including all satisfaction, all joy, all love, exists only here, which means it exists only now. The principle is that all energy only operates here, only exists here, because there is no there. When you think about time and space, let me see if I can actually draw this out for you, because I need you to be able to get this and have it be something that you understand for the rest of your life. So watch this. Let's call this space. Let's call this time. Boom. All right. So we got space and we have time. You could think of this as literally the space-time continuum. We move away from Newtonian physics and move into Einsteinian physics. Okay, you dig what I'm saying? So here we go. We have space up here, we have time. Traditionally, we say, okay, we'll start here in Austin, Texas, and we'll go there, which is Houston, Texas, or anywhere else, right? We think about ourselves traveling from here to there. And some people will say, "Oh wow, if I can just leave the city that I'm in behind, if I can just leave the city that I'm in behind and I can get to somewhere else, I can get over there, I'll be happier." But let me ask you, what happens when you actually move in physical space from here to there? So let's say this is Austin, let's say this is Houston. What actually happens? Does If you move from here to so-called there, what's the name of this location? What would be the name of that new location? Have you actually arrived there from your personal experience? Do you actually move and say, okay, well, look, we got the rental car, we got the truck, we got the movers, new apartment, we're in Houston now. If by the time you travel to Houston, is Houston still there or is it something else? Felicity's throwing in the word. That here to there, it literally just is. It literally just is here. Which means that you may leave a situation or a place behind, but whatever suffering you are taking from one place, you're just gonna bring it to the new place. This just becomes your new here. The situations that you think you left behind, they somehow find a way to follow you here. The same thing happens in time. We say the other word for here is now. People think, oh man, if I can just get $1 million, if I can just do, if it could just be 5 years in the future, my success is coming in the future, and therefore I'm just trying to get there. But the thing that people do not realize is that once this 5 years comes and goes, you're not going to experience it as a there. You experience it as a now, and a here, which means whatever problems, though your situation may change, you know that this is not a universe where challenges disappear forever, which means that the very problems that you may have solved over this way, on your way to becoming whatever, those individual problems may disappear, but the perception of problem does not. The ability to perceive events, circumstances, and ideas as problems do not. It's not as if there's some magical happiness that can be found and experienced over there or over then, because we never experience a place apart from ourselves, which means if you haven't handled the suffering here, you can expect that it'll be there when there becomes here. You dig what I'm saying? And so if we were to move and exist in a reality where we say, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore. Not in the sense that I don't need to plan anymore, but I just don't want to deal with the notion that the future is going to save me. I don't want to deal with the notion that some movement is going to save me. Even if those things are necessary, that's fine. But I know that when I get to the there that I think is better, what I'm really left with is here. I'm still left with myself. I still have to live with myself. I still have to live with me here. However much external situations change. Okay. So our principle is that all energy, it only operates in the here, because the there that we think we're moving to, it never comes, it never arrives. When we get there, it's also still just here, which means the methods and modalities that we use in order to treat energy in this present moment will follow us into any moment in the future. That's why our first principle tonight is that all energy only operates here, because there is no there there. This is crucial. And so you say, okay, well, we've got this principle, but what's the pattern behind it? Like, how do we how do we understand the thinking that gets us into trouble in the first place? What's the actual pattern the mind is falling into in order to forget this most basic of truths? When the future comes, it is now. That when we move anywhere, that new there becomes here. That future time becomes here, becomes now. Therefore, my ability to deal effectively with my own thoughts, with my own feelings, with my own emotions, with my own energy is the true asset that I carry with me, regardless of external circumstances. Hmm. Hmm. Twin saying the here and now. Sublime saying, oh, it's like tomorrow never comes. Absolutely. Absolutely. The here and now. Felicity saying, I think there's a meme that says something like all your problems can't be solved just by moving to Atlanta. For real? Like, is it okay? Can you find that and post it in the chat, because I mean, literally, that's so funny to me, because we shot so much a Countdown to Breakthrough in Atlanta. I was like, I was really, you know what I'm saying? There's been more than a few occasions where I'm like, dang, man, I'm like, maybe it does make sense to move to Atlanta. Maybe everything will get solved. That's hilarious. Okay. All your problems can't be solved just by moving to Atlanta. Oh man. And there's so many people. Okay, anyway, that's the whole thing. That's actually quite that's funny. Okay, so what's the pattern behind this? Remember we say that love is the highest energy, but even if we just said what the Chinese Taoists were saying, here's the pattern. It's just supposed to be you or a body. You dig what I'm saying? So here's the pattern. If you betray your energy, you are betraying yourself. If you betray your energy, you are betraying yourself. Betraying your energy is defined by trying to do, forcing things into being, even when it costs you your soul, even when it depletes you, even when everything inside of you is saying, I hate this, I don't want to be here. I'm talking about when you're forcing yourself to get things done because you think you should. For me, for me, remember I take this notion of energy and I say, okay, what's the highest version of that? I say when you betray love, you are abandoning yourself. Why is that? Because love is the totality of reality itself. That's how I define love. I define love as oneness, as the end of the sense of separation. When we say we love somebody, we're really saying that we feel one with them, we feel connected with them, if the love is genuine. And so, because of that, you cannot partition love away from yourself, which means that this voice, if you're listening to the voice of love, will tell you exactly what this one needs to do. But if you're listening to a list of, let me see if I can put them up here. If you're if you're listening to a list of shoulds, put an S. If you're listening to a list of shoulds, you're listing out a series of oughts. I ought to do, and you're betraying your own energy. You're betraying the signals. You're betraying the signals that you're receiving from within. You're betraying this love frequency. Oh, you can go ahead and call it quits because you've just abandoned yourself. That's the pattern. What happens is we start getting overcome with this list of shoulds and start forcing ourselves to do things that love is saying, that your energy is saying is unnecessary. It has another path for you if you would be but still and follow. And so we want to make sure that we're understanding this pattern. This pattern happens when we get that snag in the mind, when we start doing things because we think we should. And just like Super Mario Bro from the gym, I didn't catch his name. I almost kind of hate to call him Super Mario Bro, but he kind of, he was kind of in that mode. But just like he was saying, like if there are these small termites of lack that lead you to saying, "Oh wait, I should do this. I should carry out this activity, this action. I should just stay in this business." I mean, they would love to be here. How come I don't love to be here? They would love this. They would love to get this access. And so based off of what we think somebody else would enjoy, we say, "Oh, I think we should stay and continue." That's betrayal of energy. And at the worst level, it's a betrayal of love. You dig what I'm saying? So that's our pattern. That's our pattern. But what's our path forward? We know our principle was that all energy only operates here. because there is no there. And we see that the pattern is that if we betray our energy, we betray ourselves. If we abandon our energy, we abandon ourselves because energy is intrinsic to us. It is the expression of who we are directly. And so to abandon energy is to abandon our intrinsic, unconditional response. The highest form of energy, of course, is love. And so if we're abandoning what we actually love doing, we are abandoning our unconditioned, highest response to life. Trying to force what works, even when it costs you your soul. And you'll know that you're caught in that pattern. You'll know when you're caught in that pattern because it'll feel like energy is draining from you. It'll feel like energy is the more time you spend chasing the shoulds, it's like, oh my God, I just can't wait for the day to end. So you'll know it's a problem. You'll know it's a problem. Felicity, if you could find that, I think if you could find that meme. First of all, are you kidding about that? Are you kidding about this? All your problems can't be solved just by moving to Atlanta? Because that's unusually hilarious. If you could find that meme and put it in the chat, if that's at all possible, I would just love to see that before I forget. Okay, so we've got the principle, we have our pattern, but now we need the path forward. Now we need the path forward. Here we go. The path forward is this. Follow love energy without expectation. Follow love energy without expectation. Remember, I'm telling you that love is the highest form of energy. Why? Because it is the sum total of all energy. It is the totality of reality itself. And therefore, to follow that intuitive sense of, oh my God, I would love to do this right now. That is the step. That is the step. But the important thing is to do it without expectation. If you try and do love because it needs to be done or whatever, then you turn love into another should and thereby disconnect yourself from it and again abandon yourself. Because love is the only thing that can keep you inside of you. Love is the highest form of energy, the highest form of intrinsic movement. And so it's the only thing that can keep you not responding, not reacting rather to what the world has to offer, but instead moving forward with the light that you feel is true. But in order to do it, it has to be done without expectation. The moment you add an expectation to it, you're moving yourself. You're trying to condition love. You're saying, okay, well, I'll do what I need to do as long as I get. It's so subtle. And I just want to remind you of what Super Mario Bro was talking about, which is that it's the little termites of lack. It's the little termites of expectation that I should do this thing in order to get this other thing. For me, remember I was just telling you about my whole, week or whatever. I'm thinking like, what makes me sit here tonight? What makes me sit here tonight if I were to just follow love and strip it of any expectation and say, okay, nobody needs to come on. Nobody needs to, I don't even need to be effective as a teacher tonight. Nothing needs to happen. Were I to sit in that and ask myself that, which is what I had to do before coming on live, the answer that I get is one word. I'm gonna write this down for you. One word. It's like every night, if I drop all expectation, it's like just being in the here, just being in the now is an opportunity to experience satisfaction, pure satisfaction. What if just by being here, I get to work with I get to work with energy, even if it's not externalized. It's just I get to see what's going on inside of this one, inside of this being. What is this one responding to? How does this one follow love in and out of every sentence? That's the real work for me when I'm coming on and doing these lives. It's the real work for me during the breakthrough live. Is how do you come in and out of love? How do you how do you stay in love and maneuver with love in and out of each of these sentences that you speak? And can you sense the satisfaction of just being here now? Like doing things because you're here now. There is no there. If there was nothing else coming, if this was it, if this was it, never more views than this, never more anything. But this is it. Hmm. Could you just love here? That question brings me to that question brings me to the two-part path question. Or rather, it's really just one question. I think a lot of times we're asking ourselves, will what I am doing work? And we ask ourselves a super, I know for me specifically, I ask myself a super expectation heavy question. Will this work? Instead of asking this question, instead of asking the question, will this work? Start asking the question, does this feel satisfying here and now? Because there is no there there. If you haven't handled the capacity to allow yourself to connect with love in this here, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to do it in the future. You might as well get to a place where we're taking full ownership over the here, because what we find is that the then, the there, the next, when it is that time, it always feels just like here right now. So really the question is, am I satisfied? When he said there is no there there, I said, well, damn it, then I better enjoy what I'm doing here then. I better enjoy what I'm doing here. So the question is it satisfying? I go into instant meditation because right now I want to know, checking in with my own energy, is this satisfying? And right now, why don't you check in with your own energy as I check in with mine? And we imagine a world where there is no there is no special future that's coming to save us from ourselves. There's no special environment that's coming to improve our lives. Not in the sense that things won't change or upgrade or any of that, just in the sense that whatever upgrades do happen won't will never substitute for love, will never substitute for God. They can never be what we think they're going to be. And so as you sit with me tonight in spontaneous meditation, our goal is simply to look inside and witness what energy is doing. Our goal is just to witness what energy is doing. Take a moment. And you can even ask yourself, what would I love to do the most right now that I actually can do right now? Listen for the answer. I'm listening too. Because the more that we can get in touch with this energy, this love frequency, the easier it is to find natural satisfaction, to find that which is naturally satisfying. Mm, mm. And so when I do that exercise with you, there's something that comes up. Just doing that one exercise, just taking a moment to see in that way, to turn the eyes inward in that way. It made me want to do something like this. Let me show you something. I'm gonna pull something up for you. Oh, here we go. Okay. So check this out. I think I might have read this a little bit before. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit higher. Taking the time to check in with this energy is what I call moving from. This is the Love Book, by the way. This is the new joint that will be coming out at some point. Well, I think it'll come out. It's just kind of like writing the whole thing and all that. But taking a moment to think in terms of love energy. It's the difference and distinction between thinking about analysis-based thinking and frequency-based thinking. I just want you to be able to see this. I'm saying that human beings are evolving beyond mere rational systems of problem solving. We're moving to frequency-based thinking, reasoning that's based on energy processing skills, the very skill that we're working on tonight. People are beginning to realize that with the onset of artificial intelligence, the only genius decision left for a human being to make in this world is to be happy and live a life they love. Everything else can be outsourced. As a result, humans must enter a higher order of thought that takes us beyond the variables we can document with our own intellects. Humans must rise to the level of thought that allows us to adjust for variables we cannot know yet. This is the power of frequency-based thinking, or organizing your thoughts based on how intuitively they align with your deepest awareness. What I'm saying is that this notion of relying on energy processing skills rather than mere logic, it requires a fine-tunement, a way of moving through the world where we're constantly checking in with what is actually true for us in this moment. Because it's so easy to get sold on a new path, a new method, a new idea, a new job, a new career opportunity, and end up dismembering our own notion of self, our own felt sense of who we actually are. That's where we get to that self-abandonment. However, if we can return to this frequency thinking, the ability to think in frequency, the ability to stop a show, go inward and say, how exactly am I to perceive? But don't go to the intellect. Go to instead to love. Go instead to the heart. Go instead to the energy that is already speaking, that's already moving. What does it say? What does it say? What does it say? Winners of wars decide what stories to tell in history books. They decide how much money to print for citizens to chase after. They decide what the laws and rules of any society are. They decide which type of people are the enemy and which type of people are the chosen. People that win wars get to have social dominance over others. The problem is that that dominance only lasts for 1,000 years or so. These people become temporary victors. And it's coming to my attention that I don't really think that there's been enough, certainly no philosophical underpinnings that would suggest that humans can move beyond the way that we've structured society before if we're willing to elevate our thinking. We'd have to move to a pure system, something that works a little bit more naturally than what we've been used to. We'd have to move to a more sophisticated version of coordination. And so the example that I give right here, let me see if I can pop this up for you. In the natural world, have you ever seen a flock of birds suddenly fly in unison together? Or watched schools of fish move together as one? How does each individual organism know when to do that? What force is coordinating them? What I'm saying is that these creatures, I'm saying that these creatures are responding to frequency, they're responding to energy. This very broadcast is only possible because of the information that is carried on energy, on wavelengths, broadcasted directly to wherever you are in the world. What I'm saying is that God speaks in just that same way. Only the screen on a television set is not the interface, only our hearts are the interface. It's where we get the instructions from. YouTube video, your screen is the interface. Your speakers, your phone, your device. Still the notion of energy traveling, frequencies traveling, carrying bits of information that create a coordinated message that you can hear and apply to your life. That is still the case when it comes to the Most High, when it comes to how nature itself operates, except that the interface for the human being, I'm saying, is inside of the heart. And the information is carried on love itself. The information is carried on love itself.